Hey everybody, it's Gail and this is Errata-Hate, and today I wanted to show you where I am on my first big project of the year. So unsurprisingly, I have a lot of odds and ends of yarn lying around, specifically a lot of worsted weight. And so over the last month or so, I know I started doing it in December, I've been taking all those odds and ends and just making as many granny squares as I can with what's left. And some of them, I've ended up with a good handful. Some of them I've ended up with, I've got 4 here from some landscapes, a whole bunch of burgundy, and I know there's a whole bunch of red in this bag. So this bag, there we go. So this bag is mostly full of granny squares. And they're all 5 rounds around, and I believe they're 6.5 inches around. So my plan is to take all of these and make a blanket and do the continuous granny join that I've been working with. If you watched my review video from my 2020 projects, I mentioned that I had done a couple of granny blankets with the continuous join and really liked it. So going to keep going. Last night, I sat down to use up the last of some Caron Simply Soft I had to make more squares. So there are 77 squares in the bag, and I want 80 because I want to do an 8 squares by 10 squares blanket. It's a nice, good-sized blanket, and I thought I had enough of this blue to finish off. Each square is about 25 yards. And so I got this one done, and it was like, all right, let's keep going. And then this happened. I lost Yarn Chicken. And not only did I lose Yarn Chicken on this square that was nearly done, this was the 5th round, I also clearly don't have enough yarn to make a 3rd one. And there's a part of me, this is Gail, come into this bag, take out enough so that you have 70 in the bag. You can do a 7 by 10 blanket. That's a perfectly acceptable blanket, especially when you're just fucking around and making your own. The problem is I committed in my head to an 8 by 10 blanket, which I am aware is ridiculous, but that's how my brain works. I decided it was going to be 80 squares, and I need 80 squares. The problem is that I am completely out of any worsted weight yarn that is like half a skein or a quarter skein. Like I checked my all my yarn libs over here, and I went through all of it looking for the 1/2 skein. I do have a skein of black. However, I'm planning to use that to start doing the join, and I don't want to have any black squares when that is going to be my join color, so I can't use that. And then I have some fisherman's wool worsted weight, but everything else is acrylic. So if the fisherman's wool, if you wash it like you do with acrylic, it will felt and it will shrink, and I don't want that. So I'm hoping that somewhere in the depths of my office there is a 1/2 skein that I have misplaced. Worst case scenario, I buy a skein, make a hat, use that to finish off the squares I need. But it is very annoying because I was so close. So that is what's going on with this project. And the interesting thing about continuous join, and I talked about this in my project review, is that, these are, like I said, I believe these are 6.5 square. But then when you're thinking about how big is the blanket going to be, if you're doing a continuous join, you're doing another round of granny square around the edge as you're working, and that requires, doesn't require, it adds another, about an inch in worsted weight. It will add an inch all the way around. So these are actually 7.5 inches across as opposed to 6.5 once you figure in the continuous join. And then math. 8 by 7.5 would be, well, let's see, 8 times 5 is 40, carry the 4, 8 and 7 is 56. So it's going to be 60 inches wide by 75 inches tall. There we go. The math that I can do reliably is all the mental math multiplication that they put me through in 6th grade. I was really good at it. So it's going to be a really good size blanket, and that's part of why I don't want to shrink it down to 70 squares, because at 80 it's like exactly the size that I want. So hopefully I will dig up a half-used skein. I did find 2 skeins of Brene Handcrafter Cotton Gold, but those are, I've not yet concluded that I don't need them for a current project, so they cannot be pulled into this. It's all very, like, this is just what my thought process is like when I'm in a pattern like this, is what can I do, what can I use, how much extra do I want, because I have been trying to whittle down my extra yarn, hence the bag of squares. Fun fact, this bag was actually made for a Rose City Comic Con when I did a casual Scarlet Spider cosplay. Houston is where Scarlet Spider is. He's a clone of Peter Parker. His name is Kane, and he is my very favorite of the Grumpy Spider-Man clones. Just in case you were curious. So I'm gonna go and work on something else that does not need scraps from worsted weight, and I will report back in a second video when we are at the point that these will be turning into a blanket, and I'm planning to show you that continuous join. So I mean, there's a lot of videos of it, but you know me, I love a good how-to. So I'll be doing a video about what that continuous join looks like and how it all goes together, and I will see you then.